कर चुके हैं। स्वामी भावतानंद प्रणाम महाराज। तो आज के इस कार्यक्रम में विजय कुमार प्रसाद साहब भी ज्वाइन कर चुके हैं। विजय बाबू को भी स्वागत है। मित्रों, आज के इस कार्यक्रम में आज का जो विषय है वह है शंकर्स कंसेप्ट ऑफ अपरोक्षानुभूति। और हमारे आज के स्पीकर हैं प्रोफेसर गोदावरी मिश्रा, प्रोफेसर एंड डीन, स्कूल ऑफ बुद्धिस्ट स्टडीज, फिलोसफी एंड कंपैरेटिव रिलीजन, नालंदा इंटरनेशनल यूनिवर्सिटी, सिचुएटेड इन बिहार, इंडिया। और आज के हमारे कार्यक्रम के कोऑर्डिनेटर हैं परम पूज्य स्वामी भावात्मानंद महाराज, सेक्रेटरी रामकृष्ण मिशन सेवाश्रम मुजफ्फरपुर। और आज के हमारे कार्यक्रम को प्रिजाइड करेंगे प्रोफेसर आरसी सिन्हा, नेशनल फेलो, इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ हायर स्टडीज शिमला एंड फॉर्मर चेयरमैन आईसीपीआर न्यू दिल्ली। और धन्यवाद ज्ञापन का काम करेंगे डॉक्टर नवीन कुमार झा, फॉर्मर प्रिंसिपल, बिहार गवर्नमेंट सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल और वेरी सीनियर मेंबर ऑफ विवेकानंद स्टडी सर्किल। तो मित्रों, रामकृष्ण मिशन सेवाश्रम के द्वारा जो कार्यक्रम आयोजित किया जाता है वेबिनार के रूप में, उसमें आज का जो विषय है शंकर यानी शंकराचार्य जी का जो मंतव्य है अपरोक्षानुभूति के संदर्भ में। शंकराचार्य कहते थे कि अपरोक्षानुभूति एक ऐसी अनुभूति है जिसमें व्यक्ति को अपने वास्तविक रूप और स्वरूप का प्रत्यक्ष अनुभव होता है। यह अनुभूति आत्मज्ञान के माध्यम से प्राप्त की जा सकती है, जिसमें व्यक्ति अपने आप को ब्रह्म के साथ एकता अनुभव करता है। अपरोक्षानुभूति के लिए आत्मज्ञान, विवेक, वैराग्य और मन को शांत और स्थिर रहना चाहिए। लेकिन इन सब बातों पर विस्तृत जानकारी देंगे हमारे आज के मुख्य वक्ता आदरणीय प्रोफेसर गोदावरी मिश्रा जी। और अब मैं स्वामी भावात्मानंद महाराज से निवेदन करता हूं कि हमारे मुख्य वक्ता और हमारे माननीय पार्टिसिपेंट्स का स्वागत करते हुए विषय प्रवेश कराने की कृपा करेंगे। आदरणीय परम पूज्य स्वामी भावात्मानंद महाराज।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सबों का हार्दिक स्वागत, अभिनंदन। और हमारे बीच आज प्रोफेसर साहब,
ये नमस्ते।
शंकर,
हाँ, प्रोफेसर आशीष सिन्हा साहब भी आ गए,
जुड़े हुए हैं। सर को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
नहीं था
अपरोक्षानुभूति पर आज हमारे प्रोफेसर साहब गोदावरी जी इस विषय पर चर्चा करेंगे। और अपरोक्षानुभूति एक ऐसा तत्व है जिसकी प्राप्ति के पश्चात तत्व ज्ञान की प्राप्ति, आत्मज्ञान की प्राप्ति संभव है। और शंकराचार्य का कहना है, नोत्पद्यते विना ज्ञानम विचारेण अन्य साधन। विचार को छोड़कर अन्य साधन के द्वारा ज्ञान की उत्पत्ति संभव नहीं है। और उन्होंने विचार के संदर्भ में उन्होंने यह बतलाया है कि मैं कौन हूँ, कहाँ मेरा जन्म हुआ है, कैसे जन्म हुआ है, कैसे इस पुनर्जन्म की समाप्ति हो सकती है, आदि आदि चीज़ों का ज्ञान ही हमें मोक्ष को दे सकता है। और इसी दृष्टिकोण से उसे वह विचार कहते हैं। तो आज का विषय बड़ा ही रुचिकर विषय है, क्योंकि अपरोक्षानुभूति यह प्रत्यक्ष भी नहीं है, यह परोक्ष भी नहीं है, यह अपरोक्ष है। इसकी हम विशेष चर्चा हमारे प्रोफेसर गोदावरी जी करेंगे। मैं पुनः आप सबों का हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। हमारे बीच प्रोफेसर गणेश जी भी जुड़े हुए हैं, पूनम जी भी जुड़ी हुई हैं, और प्रोफेसर आरसी सिन्हा साहब जुड़े हुए हैं, राकेश जी जुड़े हुए हैं। आप सबों का हार्दिक स्वागत है, हार्दिक अभिनंदन है। मैं प्रोफेसर गणेश जी से अनुरोध करता हूं कि इस विषय का खुलासा करते हुए आगे इस चीज को प्रोफेसर गोदावरी।
ओम श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं राम नाम वरानने। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्त देहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं Sutra Bhashya Kutu Vande Bhagavantu Punas Swamiji, Professor Sina, Madam Anand Singh ji, Professor Das, Narayan Singh ji, Raj, ji, all those who have assembled here on this day, Ramanavami, Ramanavami, to be part of this great center is run by Swami Bhavatmanandaji Maharaj, who is doing immense service to mankind, not only by being like offering so much of services on behalf of the tradition that has been going on so smoothly from the time of Sri Ramakrishna, but also distributing self-knowledge that which will take care of the man with and without things. So, so Swamiji has given me a very, like what to say, complex topic to discuss today, which is the core of all the Upanishads, all the Shastras that stands in the name of Indian philosophy. This is, in a sense, if we say, Ahamartha Vichara. What is the meaning of the essence of the self? What is that I that is that permeates everything? So I will start with the uh, epistemology. I'll speak for about 45 minutes to 1 hour because the topic is so vast. Like it is not possible to bring everything in one go because so many things have been written on this topic. And I remember my PhD uh, thesis was on this, a text called Anubhuti.Prof, which was written by Swami Vidyaranya, who established Vijayanagara kingdom, like uh, after Kautilya, who established Maurya Empire. You know, it is Vidyaranya who established Vijayanagara Empire, and he was like Kautilya, a, a multifaceted personality who wrote so much about so much on so many things. And one of his books is Anubhuti Prakasa, and my PhD, it is on Upanishads, and my PhD was on that Upanishads only. But Aparokshanubhuti is a text which is ascribed to Shankaracharya. Like we are not very sure whether it is written by Shankaracharya or not. But one of the Shankaracharyas definitely have written, may not be the um, like Adi Shankaracharya, but I am not, Swamiji has not assigned me to speak on the text of Aparokshanubhuti. He has asked me to speak on what Aparokshanubhuti means.
Yeah.
So I will speak about 1 hour, something nearer to 1 hour, not more than that, on this. So this Aparokshanubhuti stands like it is a combination of two words, Aparoksha and Anubhuti. So let me first give some may first discuss, explain, clarify what are these two terms. So the first thing is knowledge, for which the whole Vedanta stands for, is of two types. There are two types of knowledge. One, paroksha, indirect knowledge, and another is pratyaksha. And this pratyaksha, may I request you to carefully listen so that you can participate. It is a very deep topic. Topic is not only complex but very deep. I will go through slowly. So the knowledge is of two types. Knowledge is gained through two means. One is direct means, another is indirect means. It is because there are objects which are can be directly perceived, and objects which can be indirectly perceived. So this directly perceived objects are like this is the knowledge jnanam is of two types. One is pratyaksha jnanam, another is paroksha jnanam. I if time permits, I'll go a little what detail in a detailed manner. I'll give before you what are these types of knowledge. But since the topic is Aparokshanubhuti, I will try to concentrate on that, not on this epistemological exercise that has been going on in Indian philosophy. So, two types of knowledge: one is pratyaksha, another is paroksha. And pratyaksha is of two types. This is the pratyaksha is one is indriya pratyaksha, another is sakshi pratyaksha. Indriya pratyaksha is uh, all that we can see through our sense organs. Like this is where our pramana vyavastha comes into operation. Eyes can see the rupa, the ear can see perceive the sound and the light. This is called as indriya pratyaksha. But there are many things which cannot be seen by the senses, five organs of perception, and those are called as sakshi pratyaksha, which is witnessed only, which is known through the mind, through the witness self. Like no senses we can know that I am hungry, I am thirsty, I have pain, I have pleasure. So these are the things, the pleasure, hunger, pain, all these things can be known by. So there are basically two types of pratyaksha. One is indriya pratyaksha, another is, and there are something which cannot be known by the eye. That is called as parokya. And what is Paroksha? Paroksha is that which depends on Pratyaksha, but which cannot be directly perceived by the senses or the sight. For example, there is a hill has fire on the hill cannot be known by Pratyaksha. Or there are so many other things. I am not going into details of those things. So now, so these are all Paroksha Vishaya. Like there is a city called France, it's a Paroksha Vishaya. It is neither seen by Sakshi nor by Pratyaksha Indriya. So this is the basic uh, division of Pratyaksha and Paroksha. One thing I would like to bring before you here is the audio becomes feeling. I'll take it over. Let me try.
साउंड कम थोड़ा सा बड़ा.
Am I audible, Professor Swamiji? Am I audible to you?
Yes,
Yeah,
very
audible,
good
but
sound.
sound becomes very feeble.
But we are getting very good sound. It may
Acha,
be
Professor Das is not
problem with Odisha.
there. Yeah. So some problem there happens here also sometimes it is. So another now I go to the next level. The next level is like there is there are something then so the first thing is there are certain things which are not pratyaksha. I have already told you paroksha. So fire on the hill is paroksha, and there are certain things which are nitya paroksha. Nitya paroksha, like swarga is a nitya paroksha object. Swarga, papa, punya, all these are nitya paroksha. And there are certain parokshas which can be accessible through other means of knowledge. And therefore, we have several means of knowledge. On this, I will this requires another 1 hour of discussion as to why we need so many modes of knowing, so many pramanas. This is called a pramana. So now the question is whether this Atma is Indriya Paroksha or Sakshi Paroksha. So it is the Atma is not Paroksha and neither Pratyaksha nor Paroksha. Okay. And this is what it means. So when you cannot put something as Pratyaksha and Paroksha, what it would be? There can be two things. Atma means the self, which is I. So it can mean two things. Either neither Pratyaksha nor Paroksha can mean two things. One is that which is prasiddha, but neither paroksha and not prasiddha, not paroksha, not pratyaksha. Another is that which is not there at all, atyanta bhava vishaya. That is also neither paroksha nor pratyaksha. Like a square circle, a blind, sorry, a barren woman's child. So now, since what? Atma, I, the self, cannot be blind, sorry, barren woman's son like an object because it is prasiddha. It is, it is ever experienced. On this, everything is based. All the experiences are based on this. So, this is why it is called as aparoksha. It is na pratyaksha vishaya, na paroksha vishaya atma. Therefore, it is aparoksha, negation of pratyaksha and negation of paroksha also. It is my essential self in whose presence all pratyakshas and parokshas come and go, and that is Atma, myself, all Sakshat, Aparokshat, Brahma, and always illuminating everything, including itself, and that is what is Aparoksha. And this is, as I told you, it is Prasiddha, okay, and Prasiddha for everybody. For a absolutely wise man, it is known. Even absolutely ignorant person also it is known. Therefore, I always tell this in my class that whatever you read, you are reading Vedanta because it is always getting, clarified. There is always a journeying towards understanding. The understanding becomes clearer day by day. So it is, every reading is a Veda and every action is liberating. So with this, therefore, what is this I which is permeating all the experiences of the Vigya and Agnya? A knower and as well as an ignorant person is what we are discussing. And in the Upanishad, this goes to describe the topic under the head, what is the essential self. Okay, so this is what is called as aparokshopi atma. Aparokshopi atma geya geya bhavati. Like it is neither pratyaksha nor paroksha. Therefore, it is aparoksha. So now every discussion that we can have on things will be with only pratyaksha and paroksha. So how will it be an object of discussion, understanding, and the tradition presents like this is, since it is me, therefore it is not something that which cannot be known. Okay, so this is what, like this is what the number, so number 3 point that I want to present here. I want to tell you something. In Indian philosophy, the mysticism is not understood as it is understood in the West. Mysticism has a very different connotation here because mysticism is not something which I cannot understand. If I give some effort, if I try, it becomes understandable because it is on me. I am talking. Therefore, Advaitic mysticism is not a, it is a contradiction in term because all that you are going to talk is yourself. How can it be mysticism? Okay, so with this, so aparokshopi atma, it is jnana visayo. So it becomes the object of knowledge and is jnana yogya. So, but one thing I wanted to tell you, it cannot be known swarupato na jnayate. It cannot be known as the things of the world are known. The known, as I have told you, all the pratyaksha vishaya or the pratyaksha, indriya pratyaksha or sakshi pratyaksha or paroksha vishaya. And paroksha vishayas are what? That those which things can be known by anumana, upamana, sabda, arthapatti, and anupalabdhi. All these, like all these pramanas, whatever they would be, however, they would be efficacious in making us know about the world, would not be applicable in this case, because because this is the directly experienced object. So directly experienced, because of direct experience, it is not indirect, and it is not directly perceived by the pratyaksha, and third, it is not something mystical. So with this background, so 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 one more thing I wanted to tell you, how it is the object of knowledge for a vigya and agya. For a agya, for an ignorant man, atma becomes it is the knowledge of atma is there in a very general way, common sense way. He takes body as atma, body is also atma. Everything is like the mind is atma, mind is also atma. Therefore I always tell Swamiji that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya is as correct as Brahma Satyam Jagat Satyam. Because when we say that there is the rope is snake, sorry, snake. So this is a snake, the rope is a snake. The snake perception on the rope is true as long as we see it, and as the rope snake is true. Let me clarify it again. As the rope snake is true, as the Brahman world is true. Therefore, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Brahma Rupena Satyam. So that is how the this is what is this is one explanation that I want to give. So what happens? Atma samanyato jnayate vishesataha na jnayate. So Atma is known as in by everybody. As I told you, everything that we interact is nothing but Brahman, but we don't. We interact with something else. So this is Samanya Jnana, but Vishesha Jnana Abhava, and all that Aparoksha Jnana does is to invoke, to invite this Vishesha Jnana. So Samanyena Jnatepi Visheshena na Jnayate. So this is what is Atma. So 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 why it is why it is Visheshena na Jnayate? It is because all the things that are known in the world are known because of the three conditionings, that is this desha, kala, vastu, parichinnatva. So anything in the world can be pratyaksha vishaya or paroksha vishaya or indriya vishaya uh, or like yeah, sakshi vishaya, because of desha, kala and vastu parichinnatva. And atma is something which is desha, kala. It is not conditioned by space, time, and objectivity. So because of this, there is a different mode of understanding Atma is being called for, being this is required. So now 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 I go to another discussion. I go from here to another. Can this Atma be known? Okay, so like this is so. Now what is the knownness in the Atma? In the Atma, what is Atma? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. So reality, consciousness, and infinite or bliss is Atman. Now when you say all this, now how do we try to understand this? Here the the question, even Shankara comes here to our rescue. He says, Atmani, in Atma, the Geyatva, object of being known, is being superimposed. Atmani Geyatvam Kalpitam. So there is Kalpana of Geyatva Anat. So, so Anubhuti is the experience of the self-evident self. So, so this is aparoksha, aparoksha, that is prasiddha. So prasiddha is being experienced. So paroksha vishaya is about Paroksha Jnana, something we do not know, and that is known is called Paroksha Vishaya. So I do not know a place called Bhutan. That is when I know that I know through somebody's showing me a map. Okay. But when I go to that place, it becomes the Pratyaksha Vishaya. But Atma is something to know that. So, like one has to one has to wait eternally, number one, or one has to know instantaneously. It depends upon his adhikari, eligibility. So that is why it is one life is not enough for knowing this. That is what Krishna goes on telling to invoke Arjuna's, this thing, the state of his to the state by which he can understand the reality. He says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So, anyway, whatever it is, so Anubhuti is immediate knowledge, and Aparoksha is self-evident. Okay, why it is not self-evident? Therefore, that I was what I was telling earlier, it is not mystical because self-evident is obstructed because of ignorance. And what is ignorance? This is what Shankara says, Atasmin tadbuddhi. Okay. Shankara gives a large number of definition to bring to one point to the fore, to start with his Brahma Sutra Bhashya saying that everything that we do, why we don't understand is because of this basic misunderstanding of something as something else. So Aparoksha Anubhuti stands for a direct knowledge. And now, now this direct knowledge, if it is direct knowledge, then direct knowledge of what? The direct knowledge of Brahman. Okay, Shankara explains that Aparoksha Jnana can make it possible for samsari jiva to get proper understanding by which he will be liberated. I have told you already that it is only because of misunderstanding this Aparoksha Jnana is obstructed. So Aparoksha Jnana means, in some sense, freedom from samsara, consisting of three things, raga, soka, and moha. So before we go to Paroksha Jnana, we have to talk about Paroksha Jnana and the limitation of Paroksha Jnana. And when we talk about Paroksha Jnana, it is implied that there is concept of indirect knowledge also. Hence, part 2 we will discuss about indirect knowledge before taking up the main topic of direct knowledge. Suppose someone talks about a fruit called dragon fruit, which is nowadays available in the market. He gives a description of the new fruit, a shape, a size, a taste, all that. When we are told about the description of the fruit, we get the fresh knowledge about the fruit about which we knew nothing before. Even a wax model of that fruit may be shown for easy understanding. The knowledge so gained, is called indirect knowledge for the reason that we have not experienced such a thing earlier. We have not experienced that fruit earlier. Or we have neither seen or tasted the fruit. The indirect knowledge we have gained through description becomes direct once we see the taste of the fruit in question. So now, the other words, we experience the fruit as such through an experience, and this experience is called direct knowledge. Let us technically analyze indirect and direct knowledge so that we know the subtle difference between the two. When the description of a fruit is given, the mind visualizes the actual fruit. It is in the purview of our mind. Indirect knowledge does not help us experience the fruit. Now, when we directly experience the fruit in our hand, we are able to see for ourselves, and it means the form through the eyes reaches our mind. The direct knowledge, the form reaches the mind through the sense organs. We have Pancha Gyanendriyas and Pancha Karmendriyas. Gyanendriyas is the gateway of five senses. I have already spoken about it. Sense organs transmit the information about the fruit, and the direct experience is that when the object comes into contact with the mind, whereas the indirect knowledge is when an object which is not in contact with the mind is is spoken to us or presented before us. When we see a star that is millions of light years away, it is direct knowledge, okay, for us, even though for distance does not matter. Okay, the form of the star enters the mind. Suppose the clock is under the book. Okay, the it is form does not reach our mind, and knowledge we may gain is indirect. It may be with us, but it is still indirect. The object, like it is kantha chamikaranya in Vedanta. The object being far or near is not the question, but what matters is as to whether it is contact with the mind or not. Sense organs one work as gateways. The knowledge we get is directly experienced by us when the sense organs experience the object and send their experiences to the mind. The mind that is the controller of the sense. When someone explains his experience to us about his visit to a place called France, it is aparoksha jnana to him, but paroksha jnana to me. When the mind is exposed to the object, it is aparoksha jnana. During paroksha jnana, we don't have the experience of France. Only enriching and experiencing it, we get aparoksha jnana. It is in the case of Brahman, we talk of both paroksha jnana and aparoksha jnana. What is Brahman paroksha jnana? When Brahman is not in direct contact with mind, it is paroksha jnana. Brahman, when we face Brahman, either with open eyes or when our eyes are kept closed, it is called as aparoksha jnana. Here we have the indirect knowledge of Brahman, for we are in contact with Brahman directly. Okay, so we can neither talk of Brahma aparoksha, sorry, Brahma paroksha jnana, or nor we can talk about Brahma pratyaksha jnana. And therefore, that is the reason why we use the word Brahma Aparoksha Jnana. In this regard, we have so many discussion, so many explanations given the tradition of Vedanta. So we should remember that all pervading consciousness cannot be away from everything and from anyone at any point time. So, to experience or to have direct knowledge of any place, we have to necessarily visit that place. When we go to Swargaloka, we have to go to that place to gain not Paroksha Jnana, but Aparoksha Jnana. But in the case of Brahman, Brahman is not away from the mind, and it is in contact with the mind all the time. It is Aparoksha Jnana always. Brahman is said to be but Nitya Paroksha. We have said Nitya Paroksha. Swarga is Nitya Paroksha for us, and Brahman is Nitya Aparoksha for us. So, when it is the case where is a need for us to gain this is the reason why should we there is a need to understand gain the Aparoksha Jnana object, that is Brahman. That is elimination of sorrow. This is the pertinent question and needs explanation. More, more so because when Brahma, Purukha Jnana is said to be the moksha itself, it is all the more required to know what is this aparoksha and what is this anubhuti. Having had aparoksha jnana alone will give us liberation. There is a need for us to know what do we mean by aparoksha jnana, and Shankara has written a text called Aparokshanubhuti for this reason. And so the both paroksha and aparoksha jnana, paroksha and aparoksha knowledge of Brahman are are to be understood properly. And that is what has happened in that text. I'm not going to the text today because my like the topic of my presentation is only what is the concept of Aparoksha Jnana. Can we have the indirect knowledge of Brahman and direct knowledge later on? So there can be, see, as we say, indirect knowledge I get, somebody says, this is the Bhutan, a map. But when I go to Bhutan, I get the proper, like in Aparoksha Jnana. Can we have that in case of Brahman? Generally, people have the assumption that we have the indirect knowledge of Brahman. First, when study the scripture or the text, we get the direct knowledge later on after gaining the knowledge from the text. In other words, Paroksha Jnana is followed by Aparoksha Jnana in the case of Brahma Jnana. This is a total misconception, and this arises because we take Brahman as any object of as any other object of the world. We should know Brahman cannot be taken as worldly object, and this is has been made in and through the Advaitic text that, like, this is, you cannot say it is a Vishaya or Avishaya. Okay, so if Brahman is all pervading consciousness, it cannot be away from anything in the creation, for it is the creation by itself. Therefore, it cannot be away from the mind, and because mind is also considered a part of the creation, there is no time or gap between Brahman and the Jiva. This is the first thing. And we have already Jivo Brahmevan Aparaha. As I always say, Mahadevan says, sorry, Hiryana, the Jiva is Brahman, empirically dressed. So this is the Jnana, Aparoksha Jnana. It cannot be gained any other way. In fact, our mind is sentient because of Brahma Sambandha. It is because of the relation from the Brahman, consciousness is drawn from the Brahman, and therefore Brahman is ever Aparoksha. Brahman is Nitya Aparoksha, Nitya Aparoksha Vastu, and it is ever known directly by all the people, but we are not aware of it because of our ignorance. This alone we call as self-ignorance. This ignorance can be removed by right knowledge, which we call the self-knowledge through Brahma Vidya. The direct knowledge of Brahman is available all the times because Brahman is ever in contact with the mind. Nobody lacks Brahman experience. Okay, therefore, there is no need for us to talk for Brahman experience. We have to work for other experiences because they are away from our mind. Therefore, we have to connect it with mind. Suppose you have the knowledge that a person sings well, and it is your like it is, therefore, yeah, therefore, like it sings well, and this is a Paroksha Jnana. Then you have to request the person to sing for you to get Aparoksha Jnana. But when he sings for you, you get direct experience of the Jnana. All such experiences can arise because the object and the mind come in contact. You cannot expect Brahman experience to arrive in this manner. There cannot be, like, you don't know and it comes to you because it on this only this operation starts. If anyone says that he had Brahman knowledge yesterday and a Brahman experience yesterday, it can be taken as an innocent, incorrect statement. If anybody says he had he had not had Brahman experience, we can take that he does not have Brahman experience. If someone says that he has Brahman experience in a particular time, he also does not know what Brahman experience is. The experience he had is anything other than Brahman. Brahman is ever evident and ever experienced. This is, this must be made clear. This when this must be made clear, which means there is no question of Paroksha Jnana at all, because Nitya Aparokshatvat Tasya, there is no question of indirect knowledge. Paroksha Jnana is not logical. If that is so, how come the commentators talk about Paroksha Jnana? There is no such a thing called Brahma Paroksha Jnana. How do you use the word which is not possible? Normally, in our worldly experience, we come to know the object first, and after knowledge we experience that object little later. This is the general rule. Every general rule has an exception. When there is a red signal, every vehicle has to stop, but this does not apply for the big, like ambulance or president's car. So, so, so that is how there is an exception case where we experience a thing fast, then the knowledge comes later. In such cases, the order of experience is fast, knowledge is later. Sometimes we experience and knowledge comes later. We do have exceptional cases where experience is there without experience there without knowledge, and when experience is there without knowledge, we need to have a teacher to tell that knowledge, tell about that knowledge. For example, when a person standing in front of you is introduced as Mr. Johnson, you don't get a new experience. The introduction puts an end to the curiosity or waiting or an expectation of that particular person uh, as to who he is. So is the case in case of Brahma Anubhava. We experience it all the at all time, and in fact, because of Brahman alone, we are conscious of everything. For Brahman is nothing but experience, existence, and bliss. What is needed is an introduction. The ever evident awareness, which we say as aham, is ever evident consciousness, and that consciousness alone is Brahman. Don't wait for Brahman. Therefore, Aparoksha jnana of Brahman is not a new experience, but a new knowledge. It is not a new experience. The new knowledge is that ever evident you are Brahman. This is what conveyed by Upanishad when it says Tattvamasi. It is a new knowledge that alone is called Aparokshanubhuti. And that is why, you know, that is why Advaita says, what is Brahma? Abadhita, Anadhigata, Vishayakam Jnanam Brahma. That which is not sublated and that which is a new knowledge. This is a new knowledge. So, a new knowledge that so far I was thinking myself with so many things, and today I am freed from all these things. An introduction, the subject Brahman is known, a lot of doubts will arise. You are told that you are not the body, you are not the mind, but your consciousness, which is not the body, which is not the mind, etc. It is existence, consciousness, all pervading principle, which is different from the body, which is different from the mind and intellect. Just as the light is not the part of the book in front of you, but it pervades, because of which book is seen. Similarly, Brahman is everywhere, but it is not taking part in any of the activities that is going on. Similarly, conscious is not a part of the body. Consciousness is not a property, not a product of the substance, and consciousness is an independent entity which pervades and which gives life in an independent as an independent entity, and it pervades and enlivens all, and existence extends beyond names and forms, and consciousness will survive even after the things are no more. Even after the person dies, I am the consciousness which pervades the body, which survives everything, like that 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 are that are perceived or that are not perceived. So that is why, you know, this is what is Aparoksha Jnana. And in order to talk about Aparoksha Jnana, I will take another 10 minutes. You know, a lot of exercises have been done. Upanishad has very vociferous in talking about this Aparoksha Jnana, what it is all about. I will give you before you one particular Upanishad which deals with this particular topic in a very profound way, and that is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where, you know, there is a discussion between Janaka and Yajnavalkya. Janaka asks Yajnavalkya by taking, because Yajnavalkya was not having that much time to spare for Janaka, he took a promise from him as to he will answer the question as and when it is required for him. Right. Kim Jyotihi. So I was talking to Swamiji that we shall have a discussion, a symposium on this particular topic, and what is illumination. And Janaka to test Jagyamalka to test Janaka's knowledge, he says, this is Jagyamalka, Aditya Jyotihi iti Samrat iti Hovacha. He says the Surya is the source of illumination. Then Janaka asks, Astamite Surya, when sun is set, Kim Jyoti, what is the light? Then he says, Chandramayavasya Jyotir Bhavati Samrat. Chandrama. Astamite Surya Aditya. Astamite Chandramasi. Then he says, Agni-revasya Jyotir Bhavati. He goes on describing, and the discussion goes on. Astamite Aditya, Kim Jyotirevayam Purusha, Chandramayavasya Jyotir Bhavati. So then he goes on discussing about this. And now, then at last he says, like, Astamite, the goes on, like, Astamite Aditya, Astamite Chandramasu, Santo Agni, Sante Agno, Bhagevasya Jyotir Bhavati. Words become the illuminating factor. Because all these things are not there, you can speak somebody and make him understand things. So then when he says that Santayam Vachi, then Jagyamalka says, Atmi Vasya Jyotir Bhavati Samrat. The self becomes the source of illumination. And the question is, the Katama Atmeti, you know, he's telling what is the Atma. Here the topic starts like, can we talk about this Atma? Then Yagyamalka gives a definition, big definition, which is the definition of this particular concept called Aparoksha. So he says, Yoyam Vijnanamaya Praneshu Udyantar Jyoti Purusha sa Samana San Ubho Loko Anusancharati Dhyayativa Lilayativa Sahi Swapno Bhutva Imam Lokam Atikramati Mrityoho Rupani. Herein he says how the man passes from one loka to another loka, passes from one life to another life through his Sukma Sarira, and how at last through Aparokshanubhuti there is possibility of his getting out of these things. And this is being discussed. What is Aparokshanubhuti? I would like to give you a very recent writer. This is all, you know, so this is all the traditional expression of um, this concept of this aparoksha anubhuti. It is anubhuti which is important. It is aparokshatva of the anubhuti which is important. And the a very the the well-grounded explanation is given by a very recent writer on Advaita, who was a North Indian, all the times traveling across the river Ganga. His name is Nishcha Dasa, who lived like a poor, like a saint, sadhu, and begging the food and writing on bits of paper. Some people found out that paper. He has written two books. One is called Vritti Prabhakara and another is Vichara Sagar. In Vritti Prabhakara, he says, what is this Khandakara? Sorry, what is this? What is this Aparoksha Anubhuti? He explains this. He says any Anubhuti will be grounded in in experience. Can we experience this? This is the question that comes Swamiji and Nichal Dasa's Vritti Prabhakara. He says the whole world experiences can be divided into 5 types. One is Antakarana Vritti, which can be seen through the mind. All the objects we see through the mind must operate only on the basis of consciousness, because mind is not conscious. There is time when the mind does not it does not exist. Like in the deep sleep, mind is not there, but experience is there, recorded in the in the subtle subtle jiva. So this is called as antakarana vritti. Whole understanding of the world is antakarana vritti. Next is seeing something as another thing. Avidya vritti. Seeing something as another thing. That is that is that is like very pervasive phenomenon. That is what Shankara says. Like, and this is the reason why he says Sarvani Shastrani Vaidikani, Laukikani, cha Prabhuttani. That is what, sorry, well, like he says, all the Shastras are only because of this. And so he goes to say the second is Avidya Vritti, that we work under the spell of Avidya. First is Antakarana Vritti, second is Avidya Vritti. Without mind, nothing happens according to him. The third is Maya Vritti. Maya Vritti assigns the Iswaras creating the world. Ishvara creates the world. He's not under the, we are under the spell of avidya and acting. Sometimes avidya takes over and we see wrong things, right things as wrong. Like we see the rope as a snake, cell as silver. This is avidya vritti. First is antakarana vritti. Third is maya vritti, which assigns the sarvajnatva for Ishvara. Ishvara becomes sarvajna because of this vritti called maya vritti. The fourth is sakshi bhashya. That's what I was telling in the beginning, that that certain things are not, cannot be known from 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 indriya vritti or also in antakarana vritti. This can be known only by sakshi. So because antakarana's actions are also known by sakshi, he brings this fourth very pertinent discussion into the functioning of the mind. This is not much research has been done on this, but very profound writer on Advaita Vedanta. Like he lived like he's a practicing, he was a practicing Advaitin, and my teacher has translated into Sanskrit. Anyway, so this is the fourth vritti. The fifth vritti accounts for the Aparoksha Jnana. That is what I want to tell you. Another 2 minutes and finish my lecture. He says all these vrittis, there is khanda, there is part in the understanding, and part because of the play of the mind. And when the mind does not have partite mode, all these are mode. Anything can be understood in the world because of the mode, and all these are modes. All pratyaksha and paroksha jnana, sakshi vishaya jnana are possible because of this partite knowledge. Partite knowledge means anything that even my knowledge of Vedanta is only partite. Akhandakara vritti jnana means when there is no khanda, when the mind expands itself to to embrace the consciousness totally. There will be no khanda, there will be no part. So impartite knowledge is nothing but this aparoksha jnana. This is my conclusion, and for carrying something with you from the today's lecture. What is aparoksha jnana? This is aparoksha jnana when all khandas are submerged in akhanda. Akhanda is only that consciousness. In the sky, in the ether, there is an example. Ether, there is no khanda. We prepare, parts walls to make ether limited. So all four knowledges, all four varieties of cognitions, not knowledges, cognitions, knowledge is one, like antakarana vritti, avidya vritti, maya vritti, sakshi bhasya are only limiting the unlimited, and to perceive that unlimited as what without any part. I think I'm making some sense to all of you, is called as akhandakara vritti by by Nishchaladasa. And this akhandakara vritti, when it is seen, all the khandas become a part of it. And when that becomes a part of it, even the man is alive, he is active like for others' emancipation. He is not acting for, because this khanda is not there. He is acting only for the salvation of those who are under the spell of this khanda vrittis. Khanda vrittis that which create raga, soka, and moha, and eventually the man is suffering. This is the essential teaching not only of the Upanishads, this is the essential teaching of the Buddha also. He goes to say that such a person can become a bodhisattva by what? Understanding that sunyata, understanding that everything is essenceless. Everything is partless. That everything that which we are owning is nothing but a part of that akhanda, impartite, complete, holistic objectivity, not object, objectivity, vastu, and that will bring about a final liberation. This is a part of the discussion that which we wanted to tell before you. But this there is a lot more to talk about this. Some other, and what Shankara does is very, 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 very. I'll complete another 2 minutes are there. Professor Singh will not like you know um, uh, stop me to talk. Give another like a minute to talk about that. What Shankara says. I go with this prelude on Aparokshanubhuti. Like as I told you, it is the knowledge of the immediate. Okay. So what is what, what it is? Shankara says, Aparokshanubhutirvai प्रोच्यते मोक्ष सिद्धये सद्भिरेव प्रयत्नेन विच्छेया मुहुर्मुहुः. And he's telling this knowledge is aparoksha anubhuti, and what it is for. He gives the list as to who is eligible for this, what is the subject matter of this book, and what is the relation between the person who pursues and the subject matter, and what is the result. This is called as Anubandha Chatushtaya. In Aparoksha Anubhuti, he gives all these things he discusses. He says, Aparoksha Anubhutirvai प्रोच्यते मोक्ष सिद्धये sadbhirev prayatnena vikshaniya muhurmuhu. It is not something which can be gained, achieved, or obtained just like that. A lot of exercise is required for obtaining this, and only with action. Not that we should give up action. With and without action, such a state can be achieved, and it can be only achieved when it is taken properly, pursued carefully. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Swamiji. I think I have made some sense to all of you. I don't know whether anything has been meaningfully presented. Other time I'll try to make it still clearer and understandable.
Yeah.
Thank you, Swamiji. Namaste. Namaste to everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for a very good lecture. RK झा साहब पटना से उन्होंने हैंड रेज किया हुआ है। RK झा साहब पटना से कुछ गोदावरी बाबू से उनको जिज्ञासा है। RK झा साहब मोस्ट कोर्डली इनवाइटेड।
झा साहब कहाँ गए? आप तो दिखाई नहीं जाते यहाँ।
I am now away
अरे
from
नमस्ते
Patna.
नमस्ते नमस्ते
Namaste, namaste. I heard
Namaste.
partially of your lecture.
Like I thought you will be there from the beginning.
Disconnection of an end. Always there was disconnection. However, your lecture was perfect to the matter concerned. But I draw your attention about the book Aparokshanubhuti, written by so-called Acharya Shankara. Aparokshanubhuti, consisting of 256 verses, is an important book on Aparokshanubhuti. It would have been better if it will be discussed in light of Aparokshanubhuti as such written in that very book. Last line you have called so for 4 types of British. So, usme the verse Aparokshanubhuti Kusala Brahma Bhartayam Vrittihina Suragina. You are expert in discussing the matter as you have discussed. You can deliver longer lectures. However, you have not a bit of experience until and unless there is a continuous wave of thoughts in your mind that is so-called vritti. Vritti is nothing but the wave of mind's activity that is related to the Brahms. Vritti jnanamayim kritva pasya brahmamayam jagat. This is called pranayam. Chittadi sarva bhavesu brahmanas tadabhavanam. That is called pranayam. Or last, always there is there should be everything is Brahm. Everything is Brahm. Sarvam khalu ida Brahm. This type of thoughts should always persist in our mind. Then that arise the direct knowledge. That is called Aparokshanubhuti. As per a discussion in Aparokshanubhuti book written by Shankaracharya. Thank you. Whatsoever you have delivered, that is the best that I think. Okay.
So nice to
Professor,
hear.
yeah, very,
Yeah.
very nice. This is what I did was like Swamiji did not ask me to speak about
Yeah.
Aparokshanubhuti book.
Yeah.
He wanted to
Really.
give me a prelude to that book.
Yeah. Really.
What it means, what I have presented is a essence, summary of that book, without quoting that book's content. I have given what exactly it is, why it is called as Aparoksha. Like, why not Pratyaksha? Like, why we say Eka? Why don't we say Eka? Why we say Advaita? So, this is the discussion. Can we say anything with Pratyaksha and Paroksha? How Aparoksha is pertinent? But you are very knowledgeable. I appreciate your interventions and the
Yeah.
Professor Dr. Jha. This is what is given in Dakshinamurti Stotra. Ahamiti antaspurantam sada. What is that? Balyadiswapi jagradadisu punaha तथा सर्वस्वस्था सर्वस्वस्था स्वपि व्यावृत्ता स्वनुवर्तमान महमित्यन्तः ahamityantah spurantam sada, like aham, that which is all the times makes everything possible, is least understood. That is what that is
So nice, Dr. Mishra, so nice of your lecture. And it was really very scholarly and very lucid explanation. And it is true that you have given a prelude and an introduction, not details of the text, not about the shloka. It was not required, I feel, because I have also gone through Aparokshanubhuti, many shlokas, more than about 200 or more than 200 shlokas. I have also gone through that. And what Dr. R.K. Jha was saying with regards to sadhana, usually we have uh, sadhana paksha in Vedanta, and that has been shown by Patanjali.
yeah,
But here Shankaracharya gives us 15 types of 15 modes or 15
yeah,
methods
exactly,
through which
exactly,
we
exactly,
have to go away. So that was
yeah,
not our subject. You did rightly to explain the whole subject matter. Just मैं आपके समक्ष आपने जो कहा उसे मैं ब्रीफ में तीन चार शब्दों में रखना चाहूँगा, तीन चार
please.
चीज़ों में। तो सर आपने बहुत ही स्पष्ट रूप से पहले प्रत्यक्ष और परोक्ष ज्ञान की बात बतलाई। प्रत्यक्ष क्या है, परोक्ष क्या है। अवश्य ही आपने अप्रत्यक्ष शब्द का व्यवहार आपने नहीं किया, किंतु प्रत्यक्ष और परोक्ष का आपने व्यवहार किया। दूसरी बात आपने बतलाई, जो मिस्टिसिज्म इन इंडिया हैज ए डिफरेंट कॉनोटेशन, और अद्वैत का ज्ञान को मिस्टिक नहीं कहा जाना चाहिए इन वन सेंस। दूसरी बात, इस संदर्भ में, इस दूसरी बात के संदर्भ में आपने यह भी बतलाया कि ब्रह्म सत्यम जगन मिथ्या यह कहा गया है, किंतु ब्रह्म सत्यम जगन सत्यम इज द सेम ट्रूथ, सेम वे टू एक्सप्लेन द सेम अल्टीमेट रियलिटी। और यहाँ पर एक सेंटेंस में बतलाना चाहूँगा, रामकृष्ण देव के और एक शिष्य थे स्वामी तुरानंद। स्वामी तुरानंद जी ने भी अपने मृत्यु शैया पर यही कहा था, ब्रह्म सत्यम जगन सत्यम, उन्होंने भी इसी
अच्छा।
बात को कहा था, स्वामी तुरानंद ने। ब्रह्म भी सत्य है, जगत भी सत्य है। तो आपने जिस उद्देश्य से ये कहा था, जिस स्टेज पर यह पहुंच करके कहा जा सकता है, उसी स्टेज पर उन्होंने पहुंच करके यह बातें कही होंगी। तीसरी बात आपने यह बतलाया कि कैन दिस आत्मन बी नोन, क्या इस आत्मा को जाना जा सकता है? तो आपने इसमें स्पष्ट बतलाया, जैसे कि प्रत्यक्ष और परोक्ष में हम जानते हैं ऑब्जेक्ट सब्जेक्ट के डिवीजन के द्वारा, वी कैनॉट नो इट थ्रू ऑब्जेक्ट सब्जेक्ट डिवीजन। दिस इज नॉट ए दिस इज नॉट एन ऑब्जेक्ट विच कैन बी नोन। और आपने उसके बहुत सारी व्याख्याएं दी, टाइम स्पेस कॉजेशन एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, उस चीज को। और इसमें आपने यह भी बतलाया कि जो सत्यम ज्ञान ज्ञानम अनंतम ब्रह्म आदि की भी अपनी व्याख्या की। तो इस आत्मा को अपरोक्ष अनुभूति के ही द्वारा जाना जा सकता है।
या
और इसके बाद आपने बृहदारण्यक उपनिषद के जनक और याज्ञवल्क्य का उदाहरण पेश किया, जिसमें कि आपने पूरी बात उसे नहीं बतलाई कि जनक और याज्ञवल्क्य से जब वार्तालाप होती है एक जगह पर आत्मा के विषय में, तो याज्ञवल्क्य बतलाते हैं कि ज्योति क्या है, और अंत में आपने बतलाया कि आत्मा ही वह ज्योति है, वाक है वो ज्योति। और इसके अंत में जाकर क्या, वाक भी नहीं, वाक भी जब खत्म हो जाता है, सूर्य खत्म हो जाता है, चंद्रमा खत्म हो जाता है, घर का प्रदीप खत्म हो जाता है, और बातचीत भी समाप्त हो जाता है, तब कौन सी ज्योति रहती है? तो वो आत्म ज्योति ही रहती है। आपने यह बतलाया। और अंतिम में आपने बहुत ही अच्छा उदाहरण दिया, बहुत बड़े विद्वान और ब्रह्मज्ञानी का, निश्चल दास का। हमने भी उनके कुछ श्लोकों का अध्ययन किया है, विचार सागर के कुछ श्लोकों का अध्ययन किया है, अद्भुत उनकी कृति है। और आपने वृत्ति प्रभाकर की भी बात बतलाई। सर, अब अंत में मैं एक दो बातें आपसे मैं जानना चाहूंगा, यह कि हम लोग जो सामान्य रूप से मैं, आई नो माई सेल्फ, आई नो दैट आई एग्जिस्ट, इस नॉलेज को हम लोग किस कैटेगरी में रखेंगे? एक नंबर, ये मेरा पहला प्रश्न है। सर, दूसरा प्रश्न है जिसकी चर्चा यहाँ नहीं हुई, क्या अपरोक्ष ज्ञान ही मोक्ष है, या अपरोक्ष ज्ञान मोक्षदायी है? ये दूसरा प्रश्न है सर। और तीसरा प्रश्न जो आपने बड़े ही गंभीरता पूर्वक कहा था कि एक्सपीरियंस देन नॉलेज और नॉलेज देन एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ ब्रह्मन। तो ये तीन चीजें सर। पहला चीज जो हाउ डू आई नो माई सेल्फ, ये तो बात सही है कि पाश्चात्य दार्शनिकों ने बतलाया, आई कैनॉट डाउट माई सेल्फ, यह तो बात सही है। लेकिन आई नो माई सेल्फ, मैं अपने आप को जानता हूं, तो यह भारतीय दर्शन में किस कैटेगरी में आता है? पहला प्रश्न। और दूसरा प्रश्न कि क्या अपरोक्ष ज्ञान ही मोक्ष है, या अपरोक्ष ज्ञान हमें मोक्ष देता है? दूसरा। और तीसरा सर, आपने बतलाया कि ज्ञान के विषय में कि ब्रह्म का ज्ञान, ज्ञान के बाद उसका अनुभव, या अनुभव के बाद उसका ज्ञान। सर, ये तीन प्रश्नों को सर आप संक्षेप में थोड़ा हम लोगों के समक्ष रखें, बहुत ही उपकृत होऊंगा सर। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। आपका टॉक बहुत ही इल्यूमिनेटिंग रहा और बहुत ही स्पष्ट रहा। बहुत सारी चीज़ों में हमारी बहुत सारी धारणाएं स्वच्छ हो गई, दृष्टि बहुत ही स्पष्ट हो गई। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं सर।
Swamiji, thank you very much. You are very happy that like this is one of the forums which I must thank Professor Sinha for creating so many forums in our country. And this is one of those forums which really, you can always speak from a little higher level, because I don't think such type of a talk, if I give anywhere, people will understand. And thank you, Swamiji, for such brilliant questions. I would like to start with your first question. What is I know myself? How do I explain I know myself from Descartes? Like, like this doubt has been a very important component of our knowledge. And what is the I know myself when if you talk, Swamiji, this can be discussed in so many ways. But one thing I would like to say is what I know myself must be, must not be what it should be. I don't want to say, but what it should not be, I would like to say. What it should not be. What my knowledge should not be is first, it should be not infected by doubt. It should not be infected by doubt. Infection of doubt takes away whether I am like a tree or a uh, whatever, like an animal. These things can happen for a person also. Some type of thing can happen. No, the first thing is samsaya rahita jnana. Samsaya rahita jnana, first thing. Second thing, viparya rahita jnana. I am not this. I am not something which can be in fact. My knowledge must be. This is not no had done in the West in this manner. But some extent, no, he, what he does is scratches the like surface of Vedanta, so to say, Descartes. One of the Bradley also, Swamiji does. So, first thing is it is not infected with doubt. Second thing is not infected by wrong knowledge. All that, all the problems in the world is because of mine identifying with a professor, male, and that is what very clearly. Second thing is, like asadrishti, like bhranti jnana. So, first is sansaya jnana, second is bhranti jnana, and third is indirect jnana. Indirect jnana. Accepting even Pratyaksha Swamiji. Like the Sautrantika, there is a school in Indian philosophy in Buddhism. They say, why are you talking? Even IIAS, why are you talking of Pratyaksha? Pratyaksha does not see everything. It is only Anumana which can see everything better than Pratyaksha. So Anumana is so indirect means of knowledge should not decide who I am, because I know. So what is that I should not be what I am. Like we can answer it in a much convincing way if I go from this, like clarifying it from eradicating, eliminating the negative connotations which are associated with me, like created by number one, doubt, samsaya, number two, bhranti, viparya, number three, indirect means of knowledge like anumana apeksha. So three things must go. So this is how I should get knowledge. Number one. Number two, Swamiji. Number two, Aparoksha Jnana. Swamiji, this is a very important question you have raised, and this is this tradition is it. Swamiji, what will Aparoksha Jnana do? Aparoksha Jnana will take away the avidya. Aparoksha Jnana will bring an end to I and mine. Samsara नाश कर देगा ये ज्ञान आएगा तो संसार नाश हो जाएगा, उसके उसके बाद ही मुक्ति हो जाएगा। ये एक मत है। एंड और दूसरी मत है, ये अद्वैत का दो मत है समझिए। एक मत है कि अपरोक्ष ज्ञान होने के बाद संसार का जो जगत नाश नहीं होगा, संसार जगत में रहेगा आदमी, नहीं तो जीवन मुक्त लोग रहेंगे कहाँ, कहाँ पर जागा होगा जो हमारा रामकृष्ण परमहंस जैसे आदमी को, ये जगत में हुए है वो जग संसार में नहीं है। इसलिए अपरोक्ष ज्ञान विल ब्रिंग by some, that is why we Swamiji we say mithyatva should go, the state of mithya will go for such a man, So it is the fruit of aparoksha jnana, one. But jnana comes automatically. There will be no samsara. Like sunlight comes. There is a discussion in Sureshwara does in the in Naiskarmeshdi. Once the sunlight comes, whether simultaneously the darkness goes away. No, there is no sunlight comes and after some time sun. It does not happen like that. So in this way, you can say that aparoksha jnana will cause liberation instantaneously. The third question is aparoksha anubhuti. See, this aparoksha is a visheshana for the anubhuti. Anubhuti, what type of anubhuti? Anubhuti is jnanam. Anubhuti means anubhava. What type of anubhava? Aparoksha anubhava. Like anubhava, which is like impartite. It is a absolutely which is unnegotiable in Western terminology, philosophical terminology, unnegotiable. It is there all the times. All that has happened is I have not been able to the counter the opposite in the way I should have done. And that is what is aparoksha anubhuti. Aparoksha is a visheshana strategy for that. That is what I was telling. Cognition, knowledge is important. And what type of knowledge? Aparoksha. And it cannot be pratyaksha or paroksha. Therefore, when you use it in language, you have to use a negative with a negative attribution. That is aparoksha. I think I have answered your
सर
question.
बहुत
Thank you, thank
धन्यवाद,
you for
बहुत
asking
धन्यवाद।
such questions. Not many people can
श्री
think in this line. I'm
नारायण जी
so grateful.
और दो एक आध व्यक्ति जो
जी
लाइक
जी
राजेश जी का हाथ उठा हुआ है।
हाँ
जी
सर
जी
सर आप जरूर सर
आइए। राजेश जी।
राजेश
जी
सभी को मेरा प्रणाम और गोदावरी जी को विशेष रूप से बधाई इस डीप विषय को उठाने के लिए। तो जहाँ पर इतना डीप विषय होगा वहाँ पर तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कंफ्यूजन भी होगा, स्वाभाविक है। और इसलिए थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन में मैं भी पड़ गया। सर, मैं जो थोड़ा क्लैरिटी के लिए जानना चाहूँगा कि ये अपरोक्षानुभूति को जैसा कि स्वामी जी ने भी क्वेश्चन किया, दो तरह से हम समझ सकते हैं। एक तरीका ये हो सकता है, हम यह कह सकते हैं कि अपरोक्षानुभूति is a contact of higher senses with higher entities. इसको एक हद तक ट्रांसेंडेंटल नॉलेज भी हम कह सकते हैं। जैसे कि सामान्य ढंग से समझने के लिए जब साधना में या योग में हम थोड़ा आगे बढ़ते हैं तो कहा जाता है कि थर्ड सेंस, फोर्थ सेंस, सिक्स सेंस इस तरह से डेवलप होता चलता है, जिससे कि हमको कुछ जो डीपर एंटिटी है, सूक्ष्म शरीर हो, कारण शरीर हो, उसकी अनुभूति हमें होती है। सामान्य तरीके से भी अगर हम देखें तो इंद्रियों के द्वारा हम प्रत्यक्ष करते हैं विभिन्न घटनाओं का, लेकिन उन घटनाओं के मॉरल गुडनेस या इविलनेस का प्रत्यक्षीकरण थोड़ा हायर सेंस का काम हो जाता है। उसको हम फाइव सेंसेस। तो जब हम योग की दिशा में जाते हैं तो फिर ट्रांसेंडेंटल नॉलेज के रूप में भी नॉलेज को एक्सप्लेन किया जाता है और माना जाता है कि धीरे धीरे हमको कुछ हायर नॉलेज होने लगता है जो कि सीधे इन पांच इंद्रियों का विषय नहीं होता है। तो एक ये तरीका हो सकता है अपरोक्षानुभूति को समझने का। तरीका ये हो सकता है कि अपरोक्षानुभूति भी एक तरह का लौकिक ज्ञान ही है और लौकिक ज्ञान जो है, प्रत्यक्ष जो है, इसको हम दो तरीके से देख सकते हैं। एक तरीका हो सकता है एनालिटिक तरीके से, जैसे कि ब्रैडले वगैरह कहते हैं कि हम संसार को पार्टेड एंड रिलेटेड रूप में देखते हैं, खंडित रूप में देखते हैं, और इसलिए हमको ब्रह्म या इस तरह के चीज़ों की अनुभूति उसमें नहीं हो सकती। दूसरा तरीका लौकिक ज्ञान में भी हो सकता है कि हम एनालिटिक तरीके से न देख करके चीज़ों को इंटीग्रल वे में, सिंथेटिक वे में देखने का कोशिश करें। जैसे कि अब ईशावास्योपनिषद का है, ईशावास्यमिदं सर्वम यत् किंचित जगत्यांग जगत, तो हम लोग भी सिंथेटिक तरीके से महसूस कर सकते हैं कि समूचे संसार में एक रित है, एक हारमोनी है, और उसी हारमोनी की अभिव्यक्ति हायर रियलिटी के रूप में, हायर रियलिटी जो है वो उसी हारमोनी का आधार होता है। तो दो तरीके से हम देख सकते हैं। या तो हम यह कह सकते हैं कि अपरोक्षानुभूति हायर सेंस के द्वारा हायर टाइप का अनुभूति है, और इस तरह से एक हद तक यह और दूसरा तरीका यह हो सकता है कि हम कहें कि यह प्रत्यक्ष ही है या लेकिन अप्रोच डिफरेंट है। अप्रोच एनालिटिक नहीं हो करके, खंडित नहीं हो करके समग्रता वाला अप्रोच है। तो जरा सा इस दोनों में हम इसको कैसे अप्रोच करें अप्रत्यक्षानुभूति को, अपरोक्षानुभूति को, तो सर जरा इस पर प्रकाश डाला जाए। थैंक यू।
So many, like I am very grateful to your question, Professor Singh. So brilliantly you have articulated this question. Like, I'm really very happy to have this question from you. Uh, like, uh, like higher sense with a higher entity. You know, I think if we go essentially into what you want to mean, this is Advaita. Entity, like, but higher entity means there must be lower. High is another grade for higher. That high is not there in that. High is a part of the higher. Everything is a one vastu, and the sense and the entity are not different, because only the sense becomes the entity. That type of a, like, there is no see, one thing I wanted to tell you, it is not a type of idealism, it is not an absolutism, it is non-dualism. So in that way we have to see this higher entity would always bring us to something absolute. Some people say that Advaita is an absolutistic theory. It is not absolutistic, because absolute again will be a characteristic. It will not. It is not idealistic. It is not subjective idealism like Berkeley talks. Even Bradley's example that you gave. I would like, it is if you say that it is not subjective, it is objective, because world is a, as you said, entity is a part of the sense. The what sense is there which can make the entity is part? It is the consciousness that is the, like a trans sense, like a not sensual, like a state which transcends the senses. That type of therefore, in that way, like I would like to say Wittgenstein's language, if permit, if Professor Das is there, the senses will go on a holiday. They are there, but they are no more there as senses. They see not that Jivanukta will not see the world as we see, he will see, but his attitude towards the things will not be the same. So in that sense, it is his talking. Therefore, the Laukika and the Laukika, you are right, absolutely. That part, that question is exact. I agree. This question, this is my, of course, it is a little more philosophical answer, that the sense and object are not different. It is an objective idealism. It is not a subjective idealism. If at all it is idealism, idealism in the Western sense, it is objective, not subjective. And Laukika, yes, it is a holistic Laukika. Like because Loka operates under that only. The whole this see. One thing I wanted to tell you, very nice question. Our professor Mahadevan used to tell a very nice sentence. Brahman Vedanta is not understanding the self. It is not understanding what is not self. A very great question. I have told this earlier also to this forum. It is not understanding of the self. Vedanta is not understanding of the self. It is not understanding what is not self. It is not understanding what is Laukika. So in that sense, Laukika is a part. Understanding of Laukika as Brahman. Understanding of a snake is as rope. Understanding of the world as not different from consciousness is the real understanding of the Loka. In that sense, it is Laukika. Thank you for your questions are very good. Well formed questions. I like it.
प्रोफेसर सुनील सिंह,
हमारे
प्रोफेसर सुनील सिंह हाजीपुर से।
हाँ 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 हाँ, हमारे दास साहब भी हैं।
सर प्रणाम प्रणाम सबको।
प्रोफेसर दास,
सुनील
प्रणाम। मेरा मानना है कि यह जो है वह दूसरे कैटेगरी का है। यह पारमार्थिक स्थिति है और जो भी ज्ञान है वो व्यवहारिक स्थिति है और प्रतिभाषिक स्थिति है। और यह यहाँ पर पारमार्थिक अवस्था में सेंस डाटा रहता ही नहीं है। वहाँ ज्ञाता ज्ञेय ज्ञान त्रिपुटी समाप्त हो जाता है और यह अवस्था वह प्राप्ति की अवस्था नहीं है कि हमको ज्ञान हुआ तब मोक्ष प्राप्त होगा। यह प्राप्तस्य प्राप्ति है। जैसा कि शंकराचार्य कहते हैं कि त्रिकाल अबाधित सत्यम, त्रिकाल में जो अबाधित है वही सत्य है। उस सेंस में देखें तो जगत भी सत्य है उस स्थिति में, लेकिन त्रिकाल स्थिति में वही ब्रह्म है जो परमार्थिक स्थिति में सत्य है। अपरोक्ष ज्ञान जो है और परोक्ष ज्ञान वो जैन में भी आता है, जहाँ पर मन अवधि ज्ञान, मन पर्याय ज्ञान और कैवल्य की स्थिति है। अपरोक्ष जहाँ पर इंद्रिय मन सापेक्ष नहीं है। और इसको यदि हम देखें तो जागृतावस्था में जहाँ हमारा इंद्रिय और मन काम करता है, स्वप्नावस्था में जाकर के इंद्रिय काम नहीं करता है, मन काम करता है। और सुसुप्तावस्था में जाकर के केवल यह सूक्ष्म शरीर भी काम नहीं करता है, बल्कि काम करता है कारण शरीर, अविद्या और कर्म संस्कार। और यह तुरीयावस्था है। और यह जो है वह शंकराचार्य कहते हैं कि यह जो है प्राप्तस्य प्राप्ति है। यह कारण कार्य भाव इसमें है ही नहीं कि अपरोक्षानुभूति होगा तब हमको मुक्ति होगी। अपरोक्षानुभूति ही मुक्ति है, वही मोक्ष है। और इसको हम वचन में व्यक्त नहीं कर सकते हैं। यह त्रिपुटी से चतुर्कोटि से विनुर्मुक्त है। जी हाँ सर।
आपने तो व्याख्यान किया, बहुत अच्छा बोला आपने। ये तो प्राप्त से प्राप्ति, इसके बारे में बहुत सारे चर्चा हुई है वेदांत। स्पेशली सुरेश्वराचार्य ने अभी कुछ दिन कर्म का व्यवस्था के बारे में बताते हैं। सुरेश्वर तो आपका जगह के है स्वामी जी, मिथिला का है वो। इतनी सारे बताया कर्म के बारे में।
इनका सूर्य जी का अप्रोच मेटाफिजिकल है और आपका पर्सपेक्टिव भी एपिस्टेमोलॉजिकल था।
ये तो प्रोफेसर करेक्ट, very well said, but always they go together. Epistemology is a doorway, it is a means for understanding the thing, but what Professor Sunil Singh was talking about is like a praptasya prapta. When prapta comes, how the like it is the essential ontological discussion of the status of the self. That is what he was talking. And Professor Singh will sing like
वहाँ सर वाणी मुख हो जाती है। वहाँ
हाँ, तो बात सभी लोग मानते हैं।
कर सकते हैं उसी स्थिति को।
ये तो वेदांत की बात है, ये सर्वसाधारण बात है ये ज्ञातव्य है, ये सभी लोग जानते हैं कि वहाँ पर मन वचन कर्म सारे व्यस्त बंद हो जाते हैं, इससे ऊपर की बात है। और इसी चीज को बढ़ाते हुए सुनील जी, हम लोग हिंदी जगत में कहते हैं ना, घर में गोद में बच्चा और नगर ढिंढोरा, है ना, गले में हार और सब जगह हार खोजते हैं, वो प्राप्त से प्राप्ति है, ये तो है ही। अच्छा सर, मैं अभी अनुरोध करूंगा हमारे प्रोफेसर दास साहब यदि जुड़े हुए हो, गणेश जी, प्रोफेसर गणेश प्रसाद दास सर।
प्रणाम प्रणाम प्रणाम
सर,
स्वामी
आप
जी।
अपना कुछ शब्द। हाँ
प्रणाम प्रणाम प्रणाम।
हाँ
Am I
सर,
audible?
हाँ यस सर,
Yes, very much.
I am very thankful to Professor Godavari Mishra for the brilliant lecture, and many things have been heaped in clarification and discussion. I would want to submit 4 or 5 things, 3 questions and 2 observations I present. Number 1, Godavari ji at one time said that Anubhuti is immediate knowledge. If Anubhuti is immediate knowledge, so what is Aparoksha Anubhuti? That is number 1. Number 2, how is Aparoksha Anubhuti different from Aparoksha Jnana? Then number 3, it is a linguistic question.
Slowly, बताइए, slowly. So immediate knowledge.
Number 3, let me finish. Number 3, what is the derivation of the word Anubhuti and what is the derivation of the Bhuti? Anu
Another
means
one.
after, who existence, then Ti pratyay hua hai, I think. But what is the total thing?
Okay, Anubhav.
derivation,
Anubhuti.
derivation of the word.
These are 3 things. And observations are,
So, Professor, first question is
at the empirical level, there is at the empirical level or the lower level a distinction between pratyaksha and paroksha. Aparoksha is a term of philosophical appraisal. It does not belong to the lower level. At this level, both pratyaksha and apratyaksha are taken together